So much for listening to this episode of Earrings Off. We want to invite you to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. You can find us on Facebook at Earrings Off Podcast and on Instagram at The Earrings Off Podcast.
Welcome to Earrings Off. I'm Lou.
And I'm Teresa. Let's get started.
Well. Hello. And
Hello.
welcome back to what? Earrings Off.
Earrings Off. Woohoo.
Hey, y'all. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Lou.
Lou, this is a serious one today. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how one sentence, just one, can flip your whole world upside down?
Yeah. Sadly, I do. Absolutely. One phone call, one conversation, one doctor's visit. Teresa, really, that's all it takes.
I know. Right. It might be your biopsy came back, your blood work shows you have rheumatoid arthritis, you have Crohn's disease, your blood pressure is dangerously high. Whatever it is, life suddenly feels different, Lou. And honestly, what fascinates me isn't the diagnosis. It's what our minds do in the next 5 minutes. That diagnosis shock. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Teresa, sadly been there. You know, the mind goes everywhere. And Teresa, I don't know if our audience knows, but you certainly know. You know I'm a hypochondriac anyway. I work on it, but I'm telling you, I try to be mentally tough, like Tiger Woods' dad said he was, and it's just very hard. My mind goes off. Because Teresa, you and I were talking earlier today about the fact that, I had a spill in pickleball. I failed this week. And that was the one thing I had been so afraid of happening when I started playing, because there are a lot of injuries in pickleball. Many of them are as a result of a fall. They tell you to be careful out there. And of course, I fell. That was about 5 days ago. And I'm going to be playing for the first time again today. All I keep thinking about is, falling, and hope I don't fall. And what if I fall and I might go out there and fall? And it's a total disregard for all of the many times before that I played without falling. Now, because of that one thing, that's all that's fixated on my mind. So yeah, when we hear something or experience something, the mind goes everywhere.
It does, Lou. I'm going to challenge you to change your mind right now. Right now, Lou.
Yeah.
Stop thinking that you're going to fall. Because guess what? If you continue to think that, you might just. But in case you guys haven't figured it out yet, today we're talking about when the doctor says you have and fill in the blank. Okay?
Yeah.
You're
what
right,
happens
Lou.
after the diagnosis?
After the diagnosis. Lou, you're right, everywhere. The mind goes everywhere. Before we even leave the office, or right after that last syllable of whatever the doctor might be stating. We're already planning a funeral. We are deciding who's going to get the china.
Not the China cat.
We're swearing off travel forever. We're just going through so many scenarios in our head, not even hearing what the doctor's actually having to say.
Teresa, that's so true. And in that moment, we've already convinced ourselves that we're going to end up like, Aunt Betty or whomever we might know in our own lives that experience this diagnosis. And it's never the victors, it's always the ones that had a hard time with the diagnosis.
Exactly. And I don't know. Why do we do that? I just don't know.
Well, I think it's because we immediately go searching for someone we know who had the same diagnosis. My daddy had diabetes, my mom had breast cancer, my grandmother had arthritis. And then we decide that's our future too, that their story is automatically our story.
And you're right, Lou. That is so true. And here's what we forget. Your diagnosis might be the same, but your story doesn't have to be. Medicine has changed,
Yeah.
treatments have changed.
Yeah.
We know so much more than we did 20 or even 30 years ago. And
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
we have that control, we have agency over our bodies. We're not powerless. Our personal agency matters.
And Teresa, that's so true. Medicine has changed. You and I did a show long ago about being the CEO of your own health. Not
We're going to
only
talk
has
about that
med-
today.
not only has medicine changed, but we have become more confident in our own analysis or ability to try to make good decisions for our health. Let's be honest, half the time back then, we didn't even know the full story of what that person might have been going through. We just remember the ending. And actually, what happened in the middle is very important.
It
You
is
know?
very important, Lou. We're going to get into some of that.
Yeah.
So, can we talk about what everybody does?
Yeah, yeah. I know. I know. I'm guilty. I'm going on Google, Chat GPT. I'm all up in it. That's me. Yeah.
Every single time, Lou. These tools that we now have at our fingertips, ooh,
Yeah.
they get us in trouble. We
Yeah.
leave the doctor's office, we pull out our phone, we type in the diagnosis or even that prescription that they give us,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
20 minutes later, we're spiraling into absolutely the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
You know what? I think we should call that something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Classic Google or AI spiraling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we're doing. And I'm going to tell you, Google has never met a worst case scenario it didn't love. I mean, it will give it to you.
It will, it will. And see, that's the thing. I could go off into a whole deep end about what you put in and what you
Yeah.
get out of these
Right.
these
Right. Right.
these chat bots. But anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. Exactly, Lou. And here's the thing. Google just doesn't give you information.
Mm-hmm.
It will shape your mindset.
It's so true.
If you start with fear, everything you read feels scarier.
Yeah, yeah. I've never gotten a response back like, Lou, you got this. I
Right,
haven't seen it.
exactly.
Yeah,
Nobody goes online to write, I've had rheumatoid arthritis for 20
yeah.
years. My meds work. I travel, I garden, I play with
Mm,
my grandkids, and life's pretty good. Nobody writes that part of it,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
People usually post when they're struggling. They're writing about the struggle. So if that's all you're reading, your view will get distorted. That's
yeah.
human nature, right?
Well, yeah, Teresa, and that's so true, but that's also what happens in our day-to-day lives. We don't hear about the good stuff happening in this country and in the world.
Oh,
You and
man.
I do a segment where we're trying to share good news. And Teresa, remember, sometimes it's challenging because there's so much bad stuff. And those are always the loudest stories, not necessarily the most common ones or the majority stories, but they are the ones that grab our attention, that are
That's right.
always at the forefront.
That's right, Lou. I don't know what that is. What does that say about us?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
can I tell you about somebody I know?
Okay.
I have a friend who recently got some news.
Hmm.
Um and I don't well, yeah. So she got a diagnosis, okay? And talking to her, You know, it was much about how her life was over, how,
Yeah.
she had so many plans, how, and this was just from leaving the doctor's office, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what struck me wasn't the diagnosis. It was about how much energy she spent grieving a future that hadn't even happened yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And Teresa, like I said, you know, I know, I'm serious. I'm not just kidding. I do. I can um I can have some issues when it comes to believing the worst case scenario if something happens.
Me too, Lou.
I do. I admit it. I told you I used to be a medical social worker and I had to stop. I had to change paths because every diagnosis that they discussed in morning rounds, I was convinced I had it. A personal story for me when I experienced that being the hypochondriac that I am, when I went in for a mammogram, you're concerned until you get the notification that everything's clear. Well, one time I went in and I didn't get that, and they said, "We, Miss Ali, we need you to come back. We're concerned." My mind immediately went to stage 4 breast cancer. I mean, immediately. Now, and I'm gonna be honest, I was having some problems. It wasn't pretty. It was immediate because I thought, oh my goodness, here we go. Never in my mind at that moment did I consider I have two sisters and a dear friend who are breast cancer survivors. You know, one a 40-year survivor, 30-year, and they didn't immediately come to my mind, even though I know them well. But that wasn't what immediately came to my mind. What immediately came to my mind was the worst case scenario
Mhm,
immediately, and
mhm.
I struggled the whole time with that.
Lou, thank you so much for sharing that story.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
is real. It's real.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about what's the first thing we should do if you're listening right now and you got some hard news. Where do you start?
Honestly, don't expect yourself to have it all figured out that day.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Lou described, your brain is actually in shock. You don't have to make every decision before dinner. Take a breath, call someone you trust. Don't call Lou.
Don't call me. No, thank you, Teresa. That's real talk. Don't
That
call
is
me.
write your questions down. Even schedule another appointment if you need one. And take somebody with you if you
Yeah,
need someone to help you listen.
yeah.
Let your emotions catch up.
Well, Teresa, let me correct something. I am one actually you can call. It's just my own case, my own health that I have struggles with.
You know I
But
know, Lou.
but anybody else, I always believe that the best and the best outcome.
Mhm.
But you know what? That the thing is, you do call someone you trust that can walk with you through this journey because you need that. We put so much pressure on ourselves at all time to be strong immediately.
Exactly, Lou. And I have experienced this one. Sometimes, you know, strength really does look like crying in the parking lot.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And you
Mhm.
know what, Teresa, sometimes when we get a diagnosis, we spend way too much time asking, why me?
Oh yeah.
You know?
I do, Lou. I and listen, I get it. It's human. But eventually, I think a better question becomes, what now? What can I control? Because there are things we can't change, but there are still things we can absolutely influence.
That's so true. And Teresa, going back to the show we did and the phrase you and I both know well, become the CEO of your health. And
Mm.
I love that so much because, You know, Teresa, that's something that should be our goal. But let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, for me, it starts with remembering your health doesn't just happen in the doctor's office.
Yes, ma'am. That part.
What
That
hap-
part.
hmm What happens after the appointment matters just as much. How you eat, how you sleep, whether you move your body, whether you take your medication, whether you ask questions, whether you get a second opinion when something just doesn't sit right, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Those things matter, not because they magically fix everything, but because they give you the best chance to live well.
That's right. So, Teresa, in essence, what we're advocating is that we not hand over all of our power just because we got a diagnosis.
Exactly. Your doctor is the expert on medicine. You become the expert
Mm.
on living well with your condition.
Yeah.
That's where the partnership happens, right?
Amen.
And
Amen.
Lou, there's another piece people don't talk about enough, your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
The way you think about your diagnosis is
Mm-hmm.
part of being the CEO too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about pretending everything is perfect. I'm
No.
talking about that grounded, steady, positive thinking that keeps you from spiraling.
Teresa, that's so true because you and I have read this book, The Body Knows,
Mm, mm.
and I think that's the name of it. But anyway, what
Or
it talks about,
remembers, keep score. The body keeps score.
okay, the body keeps score. And this is the thing, it's not about pretending because your body knows, but
Mm,
it's about doing the work to actually change your mindset. The kind of thinking that doesn't ignore reality. That's not what we're suggesting. It just refuses to let fear run the whole show to dictate everything after the
mhm.
diagnosis.
Exactly. Because if you believe you're helpless, you act helpless.
And that's
But
not going to help. Yeah.
but if you believe, okay, this is hard, but I can learn, I can adjust, I can advocate for myself. Then you make different choices. You
Mm-hmm.
ask better questions.
Yep.
You follow through on your care. You stay open to options. You even give yourself permission to hope. You should give yourself permission to hope. That's
Yeah.
not denial though, Lou. That's
Yeah.
not. That's
Yeah.
leadership. That's a real mindset shift.
Yeah. That's so true, Teresa. That's good stuff. And sometimes it's not the big, measures or big actions. It's just like some days just deciding I'm just not going to Google this today. I'm
Mm.
just not going to go down the rabbit hole. I'm not going to spiral on this today.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of the most powerful tools you have, and it doesn't cost a thing.
And Teresa, that's so true. So, in today's conversation, what I'm hoping is that we all remember that a diagnosis, it just answers one question, but it doesn't answer every question about your future and what lies ahead and your journey on this with this diagnosis.
Lou, I think that deserves being said again.
You know,
That
yeah,
is so true.
it's
You know,
so true.
you have so much to look forward to.
Yeah.
So beautifully said, my friend. And maybe that's where we'll leave everyone today. If you've recently received difficult news, please remember your diagnosis is but part of your story.
It's
It
part of it.
Mhm. It is not the whole story. The chapters that come next are still being written, and you still have a pen in your hand. And your mindset, the way you choose to think about your diagnosis, is part of the story that you are writing. That health mindset matters.
Matters so much.
Thank you so much for spending time with us. If this encouraged you, send it to someone who needs it.
Absolutely. Please do that. And in the meantime, as always, we wish you the very best. Take good care.